Plaintiff Jeannie Lassar met the defendant when the defendant was going through rehab to kick her crack cocaine habit. So Jeannie introduced the defendant to her son, who was also going to rehab. Jeannie claims the two of them started dating, but they both relapsed and started using drugs again. Jeannie's suing her son's ex for the balance due on a car. Defendant Tracy Beardsley says she's been a drug addict most of her life, and that crack cocaine was her drug of choice. Tracy admits that she cleaned up her act while in prison, but relapsed while dating Jeannie's son. Tracy claims Jeannie sold the car to her and Jeannie's son, and therefore she's only partially responsible.
Prove your case.
First of all, I met Tracy in 2006 at church, and at that time, unfortunately, she was in rehab, and she had just gotten out of prison for selling dope. Actually, it was crack cocaine. And at that time, I was going through the same situation with my youngest son.
You on crack too?
No.
Oh.
No, sir.
When you say you were going through the same situation?
With my son, my youngest son.
The son was, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my son was going through rehab, and at the time I thought it would be good if he had somebody to talk to that's been through it and was going through rehab too. So I introduced them. I did not realize by introducing them they would have a relationship and go from there. So Mathis was living with me, that's my son, and Tracy would come over periodically and she'd stay overnight and she'd spend a couple days, no problem. I didn't have a problem with Tracy. She was a lovely girl, she really is. So anyways, I noticed that they were both starting to lose weight, and as a mother and being through it before, I could see the signs of possession.
How long after getting together did you observe that?
I'd say about 8 months, okay?
Go ahead.
So Matthew informed me when I asked him. I said, Matthew, are you using again? He says, yes. So then he decided that they were going to separate. Maybe it was mutual, I really don't know, I wasn't there.
Good idea.
But anyways, he said he wanted better things out of life. He didn't want to go down that road again.
Let me ask her about her own situation. Ma'am, you want to give me some background?
Oh, sure. I've been a drug addict most of my life. Crack was my drug of choice.
How old were you?
I started back when I was about 9, 10 years old. But back then it wasn't crack, it was something different. Free base. So in 2005, I was arrested for selling drugs. By the grace of God, he was on my side. I was looking at 4 felonies and most of my life being incarcerated. But again, by the grace of God, he gave me the opportunity to have 1 year in prison and 1 felony on my record, which I'm very thankful for. It was the best thing that could have happened to me.
You can have that expunged, you know that.
Right, I do.
5 years after, or depending on the state, some states it's 7.
Right, and I'm looking into that now.
Has it been, how long has it been?
Well, I got out in 06, so it's been not even 4 years yet.
A couple more years. All right.
Right.
People ask how I was able to get a law license and do all these things because I had my record expunged.
Right.
I know a lot of cats on the street, and you ain't do that, because if you got a felony, you can't do this, you can't do that. I say, stop making excuses and go and get your record expunged.
That's it, it's
Go
excuses. So I met Jeannie at church, my mother's church. We were doing a Thanksgiving dinner there. We were working as waitresses. We started talking. We got along great. She's a great woman. She talked to me about her son, so I was willing to meet him. And he's a great guy too. But we clashed because of the fact of 2 drug addicts most of the time cannot have a life together. We didn't realize that in the beginning. We jumped into a relationship.
You're smoking more than your share.
I'm sorry, yeah.
A lot of problems right there. Right. You get an 8 ball, you don't want to pass the pipe.
So things were good for the first, like she said, 6 to 8 months, and then we relapsed. We got back on the wagon. It was about another probably 4 months or so later we relapsed again. And now I've been over 2 years sober, and I feel great.
Good.
So
Good to hear that.
It's the best thing that could happen to me was getting arrested and going to prison.
Good. And while you were in prison, did you get a skill?
Well, they had me into rehab in there. It's called KSAT. And then in the evening we had to work. So I worked in the commissary department.
So you're saying you didn't have an opportunity to get
No,
a
because I
stay?
was only in for a year, and by the time I got on state grounds...
The reason I'm asking this is we have all these states now that are releasing prisoners because of money. They've used up their budgets, sending these people to prison. And one of the reasons they've used up their budgets because they let these folks out of prison without training, without any means of them being able to take care of themselves. And so what happens? They go right back in, because they have no means of taking care of themselves or being a productive citizen. So that's why I'm asking you. And it sounds like you're one of the people they did not require to get some type of training. And that has something to do with your relapse, I assume.
Well, it was more than that, too. It was my past. I never learned how to deal with my pain properly. So thanks to therapy, you know, I started to allow myself to feel.
Okay.
And once I did that, I didn't use the drugs for my crutch, for my excuse, you know, to cover up, because it only covers up for so long.
Okay.
You know, it's still there. It doesn't change anything.
Let me allow her to tell me why she's suing you on this car.
Okay, first of all, may I say my son's been clean. He's got a great job, and he just had a
How
little
long
baby
has he
boy.
been clean?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, good. So maybe they
he's-
can get back together.
No.
You prefer not?
I just think that, like she says, it's oil and water. And I don't think it would be a good match at this time. Maybe later.
So the car.
Okay. Well, I had a 1999 Pontiac Sunfire that I sold her for $1,300. She made one payment, and it was in August of '08. I have not seen another payment since then, and I do have a promissory note that it was to be paid for by July of '09.
Ma'am?
She sold the car to her son and I. And I do have the title right here with both of our names on there. I do not have the car any longer, so I don't understand why she's only suing me, because I had the car when I was with him, and the motor blew. But when we separated, I only have the car.
Stop.
When we separated.
I want to know if the car smokes crack. That's terrible. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, it was smoking something by the time it was done. But by the time the car blew, I only had it by myself for not even a month. Her son and I were together up until approximately a month before the car blew. So right there with the title, everything else, the promissory note, I don't understand why she's suing me for the whole thing instead of him.
Your Honor.
And I.
Your Honor, what happened with that was, the only reason I got the $100 from Tracy to begin with was I told her to give me the car back. My son would take over the payments. Tracy says, no, I want the car. She brought me over $100. I gave her a receipt for that. And she said she would pay the rest of it.
All right.
But I wasn't expecting the motor to blow a month later. I mean, I didn't even have the car transferred in my name yet. We got the car from her. 3 days after, the car already had problems. We took it to a garage. Her son calls her up and says, Mom, they're looking into what's going on with it. Will you pay for half of this amount? She says, no, I'm not paying for a dime. I said, Matt, don't worry about it. We'll just eat that. We'll eat that and we'll deal with it.
The problem you have, ma'am, and this is a problem that most people don't foresee when they sign on to a loan together, when they sign on to a lease together, when one co-signs for the other at a furniture store or any other type of financing arrangement, is that it's a joint debt.
Right.
And she has a right to sue what they call jointly and severally. You all are jointly and severally responsible, meaning you're responsible together and you're responsible separately. And so she has the right to sue either one, or she could sue both. She could sue you for just $600 and sue her son for $600, or let him off the hook for the other $600, or she can sue one of the parties for all $1,200. And she has chosen to sue you for all $1,200. So I'm going to have to grant her judgment of $1,200. Have a good day.
Thank you.